Yaakov Esri Me'im Adonai, Oseh Shamayim Va'aretz. Lift up my eyes to the mountains. What is the source of my help? My help will come from the Lord, maker of heaven and earth. The Lord will not allow your foot to slip. Your guardian will not slumber. Behold, the guardian of Israel neither slumbers nor sleeps. The Eternal is your keeper. The Lord is your shade at your right hand. The sun shall not harm you by day, nor the moon by night. The Lord will guard you from all evil, protect your being. Adonai yishmor tzeitecha u'roecha, me'ata ve'ad olam. May the Lord guard you coming and going from this time forth and forevermore. Mizmor LeDavid. The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. The Lord makes me lie down in green pastures, and leads me beside still waters. The Lord restores my soul, and leads me in right paths for the sake of the divine name. Even when I walk in the valley of the shadow of death, I shall fear no evil, for you are with me. Your rod and staff comfort me. You have set a table before me in the presence of my enemies. You have anointed my head with oil, my cup overflows. Surely goodness and mercy shall follow me all the days of my life, and I shall dwell in the house of the Lord forever. The psalmist asked, O God, who may abide in your house, who may dwell in your holy mountain? And surely he gives his word, and come what may, does not retract, does not exploit others, never takes bribes. One who lives in this way shall never be forsaken. Are we the creatures of dust, whose destiny is but to return to the dust from which we came? The ancient sage has taught us, the spirit of the human being is the lamp of the Lord. Not even the darkness of death can extinguish the light which the Eternal has kindled in the sanctuary of the human soul. Therefore, Lord, thank thee in this solemn hour for that which was deathless in the life of our cherished Herman, which is now revealed to us in all its beauty, for his love that united us in life, and which death cannot sever, for his companionship which we shared along life's path, and which still continues through the tenderness of memory, for the gifts of his heart and of his mind, which brought us joy and happiness, and now have become a precious heritage of the Spirit. For all these and more, we give thee our praise. In his personal life and in his professional life, Dr. Herman Hellerstein built upon the love and the knowledge of the generations before him, transforming them in a majestic way for the generations to follow. Born in the small coal-mining town of Dillonville, Ohio, to Russian immigrant parents Samuel and Cecilia, Herman knew meager beginnings. He worked in his father's general store, and later he would sell shoes. He was proud to say that he was an ethical shoe salesman. He never sold a shoe which did not fit properly. His siblings, Rebecca and Esther of blessed memory, and Velma and Earl, be his lifelong friends. His sisters were his teachers. With them he read the book of knowledge from cover to cover on a rainy day. And Velma would tease him that what his children affectionately called his tall Dillonville stories were really her own. With Earl, he would run down the aisle of the first talking movie looking for the voices. They would engage in heated debates. It was a close family that nurtured him to create his own family. graduating from Adelbert College of Western Reserve University and earning his MD from Reserve School of Medicine, Herman would meet his soulmate, Mary Kyle Hellerstein. He was on military leave from the 7th Armored Division, 40th Tank Battalion, in which he was a captain serving under General Patton. A decorated soldier, he helped to liberate the German concentration camp of Bergen-Belsen. He would write to Mary telling her of the profound impact this experience had on him. Indeed, in his best Yiddish, learned at the workman's circle as a child, Herman would ask the people he was helping to rescue why they were there, why in the camp. As he listened to the response, that sometimes it was merely because their grandmother was half Jewish, his religious understanding and commitment took form. Cultural and political Zionist, the home he and Mary would establish together was unmistakably Jewish, even if Herman was not what he would call religious. Often, however, he accompanied Mary into this great sanctuary. That was because Herman shared many things with his Mary. 45 years would encompass the time from when he sent you those K rations so you would know what he was eating, to the great pride he shared as he graduated from medical school, to your full years of common interests and mutual goals. During those years, you would accompany Herman around the world, Thailand, China, Australia, South America, Egypt, and Israel, as he would disseminate his word, and he did his pioneering work in cardiology. But the true joy of those years for Mary and for Herman would be their children, Catherine, David, Jonathan, Dan, Susan, and Beth. In his soon-to-be-released book, Family of Doctors, David writes, as kids we realized that we were part of a great adventure, the conquest of disease by scientific medicine. Some of your fondest memories are helping your father with the scientific research. Growing up, you did not have normal pets, you had lab mice. Your father might assist you in developing experiments for science projects with the mice, or you might help your father study some phenomena in them. Sometimes you were the guinea pigs, as he made you run on the fitness machines and tested each of your breaths. He enjoyed your company on many of his research collecting projects as well, and often you played an important role in helping him. Jonathan, you lived out every young boy's dream, as you would ride on the fire engines and in ambulances, taking EKGs of the emergency workers and the victims. David, joining his father, measured the stress of parachute jumpers as they landed. Here you said you learned about the fragility of life, which would later inspire your work. Your father was a man who, though committed to science, did not stay in his small laboratory. Studying stress, seeing that he experienced vicariously every profession from factory worker and farmer to orchestra conductor in Thailand. And you learned through your own experiments and provoking your father. He was not quick-tempered at all. He showed you great patience as he inquired about what consequences you thought some of your antics might yield. He had a wonderful sense of humor. Affectionately, your dad referred to you, Catherine, and Susan, and Beth as EDD number 1, number 2, and number 3. That stood for Dear Darling Daughter, of course. And indeed, he thought of each of you in this way. Catherine shared a deep love for the Yiddish language of his childhood. He was constantly arranging speaking engagements for you in the area so that you would come to visit. Susan, you remember the most fondly of family bicycle rides every Sunday with your father at the head of the line and your mother bringing up the tail. You would ride your little two-wheeler with your dad would tie to his bike to pull you along. There were also the family vacations, which often required memory that will help shape your life. It's just a short while ago, but you, the newlywed of the gang, said that your parents looked like newlyweds. The way that your father was holding hands with your mother, they went on walks through the beautiful countryside together. All of you have had models for you and your parents, that special relationship which the Jewish wedding blessings refer to as Re'im loving friends. For your spouses, David, Lisa, Peggy, Karen, John, and Dan, it is their blessing too that your father was a kind, humble, and loving person who will pass these traits on to his children. Taught you all to stand up for your beliefs, even if it meant that the dinner table debates were hotter than the food on your plate. Gave you a model of a man who was larger than life, and yet he took orders from his little granddaughter Jessica. He enjoyed each of his 10 grandchildren, range in age from 8 years to 5 weeks. He met them again. He certainly would have loved to meet your soon-to-be addition to the world. Perhaps yours will be his namesake, keeping alive your name each of you has become, indeed. The Cleveland Health Museum is a display of 14 pioneers in Cleveland cardiology. The display is known simply as On the Shoulders of Giants. Dr. Herman Hellerstein was indeed a giant in his field of medicine, and others stand on his shoulders, being the recipients of his vast contributions to the scientific cause. They will benefit from what he has done. But you, his family and friends, know that his shoulders are even broader than that. For there, you could find comfort and conviction. Standing on his shoulders, you have found fresh acquisitions for the future ages. May the high ideals that he cherished live on in your works and your deeds. May the depth of his love for each of you be the source from which you shall draw strength. In colleague of Dr. Hellerstein, Dr. Bill Ware, to share words about his professional life.
This is a personal recollection of Dr. Hellerstein as my colleague and my friend. I first met Dr. Hellerstein in 1952 after my return from service in the Korean War. At that time, I became a fellow in cardiology at the University Hospitals, and then in 1953, joined Dr. Hellerstein at the work classification clinic of the family meeting area of the Heart Society, now known as the American Heart Association. The clinic, the work classification clinic at that time, was based at the Bureau of Vocational Rehabilitation on East 55th Street, where Dr. Hellerstein organized the clinic in 1950, and together with Mrs. Elaine Golson, a medical social worker, Mrs. Helen Delaney, nurse, and importantly, Mrs. Marjorie Snowbird as administrative secretary. Dr. Hellerstein's staff clinic with medical residents from university hospitals who were particularly interested in cardiovascular disease. I served as associate director from 1953 to 1956. So to speak louder. I served as an associate director from 1953 to 1956, and then left to begin my own research work in coronary physiology and physiological reserve, and to become a staff member of the Division of Cardiology at the University Hospital as a junior colleague of Dr. Sarah Fire, Dr. Walter Pritchard, and Dr. From those times on, I became not only a younger colleague of Herman, but more important, a friend that remains so to this day, 40 years later, Herman was always interested in basic science, but his most significant work of such efforts was the exercise treadmill. From the mid-1950s and on, his work with physical and psychological problems of heart attacks played a significant role in the evolution of the present early recovery and rehabilitation of such patients. He wrote widely, and the success of these efforts were recognized in Congress both nationally and abroad. Subsequently, he traveled throughout the world and promoting the need of rehabilitation of post-heart attack patients and contributed to the literature decided by numerous scientific articles and eventually several important books. However, he had a somewhat different view of the claims of the enthusiasts for exercise alone as the major component of the lifestyle that would reduce heart attack risk. Although he conceded that benefit from exercise is effective primary prevention of coronary heart disease, he was of the mind that it was the associated lifestyle, particularly with respect to diet and discontinuance of smoking, that was the more important thing. He gently treated me when I personally fell prey to the cardiovascular outbreaks of running enthusiasm of the 1970s and 1980s. This reflected his science practice. He despised medical care speculation and demanded hard scientific data to justify any interventions that were alleged to be of benefit to health and peace and public care. However, with respect to my learning, he never figured out where I finished in the race. Herman was an enthusiastic and demanding teacher both of medical team, medical residence staff, and readers college. We frequently argued that win or lose, we always learn something from the process. His professional career was unique in the breadth and the importance of healthcare treatment. We mourn his death, but we celebrate his life and his time. Certainly will never be forgotten in the University Hospital and the School of Medicine at University, nor by us, or by any other of his numerous colleagues and former students. Many of them knew and very good.
I wrote a poem, you hear me, that would not only speak for myself, but would also speak for my family and my father's friends. And I tried to follow the traditional Jewish eulogy form. There's two sections to it. The first section is called Hesped, praising the deceased for worthy qualities. We gather here today to say goodbye to you, beloved Herman, father, friend, brother, dearest husband, doctor, teacher. Words are what you live by. How they fail me now, standing before your silence. You would speak and write to teach and comfort those you love your whole life through. You helped us learn to live. Humane and decent, menschlich, humorous, clear-sighted, rigorous. You spoke the truth as you perceived it. Usually you were right. A prophet in the well-mannered your testimony to the love and work of humankind as your fine legacy. The second part is called Becky, expressing grief and a sense of loss. And oh, my Father, in these last dark days, you lost your words, and now we have lost you. I stand here in the Jewish way of grief, strong in the face of crisis, and in respect for you, the dead. I watched you breathe, and then there was no breath. An instant, you were gone. The silence begs to hear your voice again. I want to think there is a world to come where I might hear your voice. I'll always hear in memory you quote your mother's words, "Zu leiden ist zu leben, und zu leben ist zu leiden." To live is to suffer, and to suffer is to live. You always used to translate in reverse and emphasize the living. We shall not forget you, Dad. With all our love, Olev HaSholem, may you rest in peace.
Once, when I was about 10 years old, my father woke me in the middle of the night. "It's time," he said. "Time for what?" I asked. "Time to go to a new world," he said. I sat bolt upright in bed. He said, "Get up. Get out of bed." I followed him around the second floor as he bid me to, saying silent goodbyes to each of the sleeping family members. To Mom, to Catherine, to Jonathan, to Daniel, to Susan, and to baby Elizabeth. Then I followed him downstairs. He whispered to me the world was about to explode. He had built a rocket ship in the basement to travel to a new world. There was only room for me, he said. "Why?" I asked. "Why me?" I had 1,000 questions. "Shocked," he said. We stood in silence. For endless moments, we stood there in the darkness, listening to the cicadas calling in the Ohio summer night. Why were we going to the basement, I wondered, full of both dread and strange glee at the thought about what was about to happen. But nothing happened. After an eternity, Dad turned to me. "No," he said, "not tonight." "Why?" I said, heartbroken. "It's not time," he responded. And I followed him back upstairs, back to a world that was forever changed. Our father, Herman Hellerstein, was always surprising us, always leading us to the brink of a new world. He was full of fierce energy, full of a limitless need to explore, to discover, and then to explain. Late at night, on many nights, he brought all 6 of us, 1 or 2 at a time, with him to the strange world of the hospital. And on weekends, through his study sites in parachute jumping fields, in fire stations, in laboratories and gymnasiums. With his stories, he brought us to the small coal mining town of Dillonville, Ohio, and back to 1944, across Europe as the 7th Armored Division of General Patton's 3rd Army liberated France from the Nazis. His stories even took us past the gates of Bergen-Belsen. With one phrase, he marked our lives forever. He and Mom had decided to have 6 children, 1 for each million, he said. Those words are burned into our hearts, and each of us 6 children still struggles with their meaning. In 1,000 ways, Herman Hellerstein was a remarkable father. Like in his hospital work and research projects, his fathering did not follow a conventional path. Instead, it was guided by his intellect, his heart, and his imagination. He had a fierce love of life, a sense of the holiness and the incredible fragility of life, and an intense rage against death, the enemy. And so, in recent years, he struggled greatly as his illness progressed. For month after month, he outwitted death. But finally, everything had been tried. In contrast to that night so many years ago, finally it was time. As Jews, we do not believe as such in an afterlife. We believe people live in the lives they have affected, in their words and in their deeds. Herman Hellerstein wrote many thousands of words, and he touched millions of lives. But if there were an afterlife, I could imagine him now, full of boundless energy and imagination, ready for a bold new experiment, ready to explore another new world.
Catch you later, I wouldn't miss it.
He lives in the Boston area. He came in with his wife and I think their 2 children. And then he came back with the last.
And some other person where they it's in the land of Israel, in the Holy Land. So he goes to he goes up and down the country.
Where are you right now?
Finally, he's taking him up to the chance of the shrine of the book, you know, where they have the Dead Sea Scrolls. And
That's enough. Go back to your table.
Are you reading computer?
Like assimilated the pictures.
Drinking pink lemonade. You should get the picture. Why don't you turn the camera on
He ended
you?
up, I mean, they didn't know he was Christian. I mean, you know, they sort of invite, they pick up everybody at the Wailing Wall. Yeah, that's true. I mean, they go up to everybody at the Wailing Wall, I guess. They did. Yeah, they hit the dorms. I mean, they're very.
They should shut out the lights and lock the door.
I mean, they're funded.
How are you?
I mean, that's what these guys do for a living. They find places to stay.
I
gave up.
I vowed.
Then again, 25 the largest one newer is
Myself.
myself.
Next time you
I can get newer. It's not much better.
can say,
you know,
can have a sabbatical. They own a sabbatical.
It's a lot worse. I'd say New York is better.
And I think he realized.
Oh, you mean
New
you
York is
earned
much
it?
better.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It's a lot better than Newark. That's well,
You haven't been able to go.
the real estate that was buying. That's what I would like.
Here's some tuna
But
fish.
it will be
It's just a little pronounced.
We have a professional.
Jessica has her new baby.
Well, her new baby cousin. Her new baby cousin.
Oh, just fun. Look, he's doing very well too. Good, good. You know how to.
Excuse me. Ed.
It was interesting when everybody's sitting down. Fair for basket.
Wave hello.
I told you,
Tell him what your name
this is
is.
just the start of it. I was going to tell you, I have a very good friend.
You like that?
I don't know. Ask my mom.
You know where the sink is? Sink.
No, but the languages will be secondary area. And she will be spending probably next summer and possibly at least a semester again over someplace, maybe either in Israel or Paris.
Very good.
Looks like we're in.
Are you a statue?
That's not how real kids act. They don't stand.
Judy and Rob.
You want a next?
Somebody's time.
Oh, Nelly, look, it's the camera. Say hi. Goodbye. Nice to see you. Thanks. Goodbye, Beth. Excuse me.
Tall and slender and
Not now.
Don't get up. Don't get up. You ever seen them?
10 minutes.
Oh, yes. Who are you? You're a Ben.
Where she is. Now, can you say something nice? Say something nice.
Wanna go play?
Yeah, I want to go play.
Where do you want to play?
Dinosaur.
Where? With dinosaurs? You sure?
Cheese.
Smart kid. Do you want to wave?
What kind of cheese? Monster cheese? Can you wave from that?
No. Okay. All right. Okay.
In the car.
We're gonna go in the car right now.
and take a nappy?
Yeah, let's go.
The show almost over?
Yeah, we're gonna take this
time.
picture after some.
I'm the artist, the family artist that Herm calls all the time to do. Every time a baby, a girl's pregnant in the family, I am asked to do artwork. Herm calls me all the time to let me know who's pregnant. And there's a piece right in there with Andrew. Little baby Andrew.
That's wonderful. Is that acrylics?
That is acrylic.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I'm just having nerves.
Joni, you know what? Barbara has a little boy just your size.
I was going to bring him, but I was afraid he'd be a bully. Well, actually, he's so good. Your dad took some pictures of my son when we were over the house, but probably. Actually, it was last winter. And sent them to me. They were so cute.
Should I get you out, sweetie? You little sleepyhead? You want to take
Your
me?
uncle. I will see you if I hope I'll see you before I leave. I might just
Okay.
split because I
Okay.
gotta get
Well,
my...
or come back. I mean, I'll be
Oh, you'll be here till 2? Absolutely.
Yeah,
I promise.
that would be great. I'm really glad you introduced yourself.
Thank you.
Gracious, are you a sleepyhead? Okay. Whoa, a guillotine. Oh, do you need a dry bottom, pumpkin? Sad day, but a lot of happy things.
Yeah.
Huh? Bag lady. My friend Carol gives me.
I think you have a sleepy fellow there.
Huh?
You have a sleeping fellow there.
Sleeping fellow. See if I can get him inside and in the
someplace to lie down.
Mama!
Hi, Angel.
Oh,
Look at your beautiful new polka dot dress. I heard there was a male doll that's missing. You're taking it out.
Anybody seen Zoe?
Little mermaid.
Have you seen Zoe doll? Zoe doll?
Susie, could you help?
What color are these guys?
I'm good.
Black with white spots?
No.
White with black spots? What's the big one's name?
Well, this one's Congo and this one's Purdy.
Purdy and Congo? Where's Pogo? Is he Pogo one of them?
What?
The little guy? One of the puppies? Isn't one of the puppies named Pogo? No? Just Pongo and Purdy?
This is
It's
Cruella.
Cruella. She's an awful lady, isn't she? Didn't she kidnap all the dogs? Oh, they disguised themselves.
Sorry, under these circumstances.
Where they got rescued by the man and his girlfriend.
Great. That should be trash.
And it's a waste of money.
Have a nice smile. Do you have one of those? Oh, that's lovely.
There's a nice
That's lovely. Yes. Oh, hurry.
She has a PhD and she's working. And she
Started because you just can't do it. You can't do it. It's too hard. At least for me, it is, especially with kids. You know, I want to be able to go home and turn people off and know that I can.
There may be a time in 15 years when you feel like you can go in for it'll be a wholly different phase in your life. Do you know what I mean? I just feel like now it's totally
maybe.
practical.
But you know what?
two babies
Where'd it go? You got it. Thank you. Oh, you keep it. Whoops.
Look at all that,
Come here. Good. Whoops. Oh. Oh. All right. Here we go.
Give it to her.
He remembers it there, but he doesn't know
that one of his obstetrical log, which he kept a record of like 1,000 deliveries that he did between ages 75 and by 1900.
I think that is really.
Yeah, and then letters.
How did you get that?
Everything's in the attic here. My mother never.
Oh, really? See, Donald keeps throwing my things away, but you kept everything.
Well,
Mary kept everything.
my mother had, it's like you say, well, I think in second grade I was in a Cub Scout thing. Oh yeah, I have that in a little package. But this is
breast milk. He said I had to have 2 bottles. You smile.
Yes,
Right?
yeah. Come on, Underman. Doesn't
Smile,
look like
Underman.
Hellerstein.
No.
Yeah, who knows? Yeah. Oh, there.
Say hi to the camera.
It's another uncle. Come on. Oh, boy. That's a good
Wow.
Yeah,
Oh, is he the
fancy
light?
contraption. It's a maze. This is it. This is going to change his life.
I know.
She's nursing him.
I know I can't hold him the other direction, otherwise he'll start sniffing.
So you were at the thing this morning?
Yes. It's noon, and it was a fine service.
It certainly was.
It was.
Participation of the family.
Yeah, they were delightful.
Yeah.
Thank you for coming. Oh, wow. Did you get to the service? Could you hear?
Nice service. And your children were marvelous.
Mommy's milk that he wants.
Here we are.
Hello, Ed, from Ellen in Chicago.
Okay.
WTTW, PBS in Chicago, Channel 11.
Okay.
It was good to see you.
Yeah, we'll see you later.
Yep.
Have a good ride back.
Thank you.
Take it easy.
Come to Chicago sometime. My
Okay.
phone number is 312-642-7541. I'm at 1150 North Lakeshore Drive, number 9K, Chicago 60611. This is an oral address.
Bye.
Leah, say hello to Uncle Ed. Where's your nose? Where's Daddy's nose? Want to show Daddy's nose?
That's what she likes, upside down.
Upside down? Would you live upside down if you could?
Who's that? Is that Leah? Hi, Pumpkin. And upside down bunny. And upside down Goldilocks. She has the cutest little curls.
So cute.
Pumpkin.
So cute.
I don't know, I have some water here.
Where's your Adam's apple?
She looks just like you.
Really?
Where?
Where's your Adam's apple? Where's your collarbone? There you go. Where's your tongue? And your nose? And your ears? And your hair? Where's your elbow? Where are your elbows? There you go. Now where's your knee? Where's your knee? Touch your knee. Where? There you go. Where's your femur? That's your tibia. Okay. And where are your toes? There you are, toes.
It hasn't passed anatomy yet.
No, she still has a ways to go. All right. Okay. What do you
Where's
want
your
to do?
daddy? Can you give Daddy a kiss?
Did you do a
That's
fish
great.
kiss? Fish kiss?
Where's your daddy's nose?
Beep beep.
Does it say beep beep? Oh, all daddy's noses say beep beep. Where's your daddy's Adam's apple?
We haven't seen these things for a long time.
No, we've been out. Here's another baby. There's another baby.
Who is that? Is it a baby?
That's mine. I just saw him before us.
Isn't he a cutie?
Oh gosh. He is. Hi, Andrew. Hi. Hi, baby.
Mommy. Where's
Mommy. This one. How come we're into stripes today?
Yeah.
He just got out of jail.
I'm sure he said mama. Susie, he said mama.
Who's Nana?
No, Grandma. Grandma's been
What
Grandma.
did you say, Nana or mama? Which? Yeah. You know, she's been. Well, my kids call him Papa.
Oh, he's leaning on Grandma's shoulder.
But Dad, yeah, I think Dad wanted Poppy, slight distinction. Well, Jessica started out calling him Poppy.
Oh.
So, Nanny and Poppy, and for well, Mom spells Nanny and Poppy. Okay.
Oh,
We're in the
Nanny.
car today.
I guess we
She said Nanny and Poppy.
Ring
called your
the
father Poppy.
rosy, a pocket full of posy, ashes, ashes, we all fall.
Been here so much that really it's got
You
to
do.
Well, that's one good thing. There are a few good things.
Right. What's a good thing?
It's
That
mean to me.
Leah's really gotten to know
enough fruit.
But you haven't had enough. More food? You have to put a sign on those, fat free. She's doing December, so she's about
Very, and Beth would like yours to.
Who do you have?
What's she doing in her pregnancy?
Is this part of
No, I think she's doing extra paper up.
Her mother or not?
Say hi to Uncle Ed.
Hello.
Hi. Can you say hi? Say hi. Hi. What does the dog say? Oh, you see Anne. There's Anne. What does the doggy say?
You call your grandma Anne?
By her first name.
Boy, aren't you
Precocious one.
Change that, but
She,
it's
her,
easier
fa-
to
her
say.
Karen's father.
What do you see? Pretty dark, huh?
Come on.
Hello there,
Leah.
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 Leah. There goes the door.
He likes to slam doors.
Come here,
Leah, come here, sweetie.
Oh, there goes the other
Come here for a minute.
busy closing
He's
the
closing
doors?
it. Watch your fingers. Watch your fingers.
Doesn't want any more company.
Dan, bring her over here for a second.
Right.
It's interesting.
We're high tech now.
Jacksonville wanted to develop their waterfront, so they consulted with some of the Cleveland waterfront development people.
That's one of the reasons.
They wanted to also improve their tourism, so they used Cleveland as a model of Playhouse Square and all these things which seem anachronistic. Why would anybody want to be using Cleveland as a model?
No, the new Society Tower.
No.
It's much bigger. Oh, there's major improvements.
It's just like Boston, only more.
Well, they don't go in for that kind of stuff in Boston.
Yeah,
They
I
build
mean,
a lot of
old Fenway Park, I
hotels.
guess they're going to build a new
But,
new
I
baseball.
hope not.
Well,
Where's the money going to come from?
Taxes.
We just went through it.
We're going to tax cigarettes or we're going to tax
It's in
beer.
tax. We just went through that.
From the lottery.
They're building a $500 million complex, a stadium, a baseball stadium, and an arena right next to it for the Cavaliers.
I would encourage everybody to drink and smoke so we can get more.
And what's going to happen to the Browns?
They're going to
Browns are staying where they're at.
They're going to
They're
continue
gonna
to
put a dome
lose.
over the stadium?
No, they're going to continue to lose.
I don't think so.
Now the Indians, did you get a picture of his cast?
Oh, yeah.
Jerry likes the Indians. He's been a diehard
No
fan
matter
for
what.
40 years.
I'll give you a little leg, Ed.
Testaverde will be helpful, I think. He's Bernie's best friend, isn't he?
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I think they'll be in play. Of course, I'm an optimist, but I think they'll be in play.
Actually, the longer they go without winning the title, the greater the likelihood is that the next year will be that year. If they had just won 2 or 3 titles like Pittsburgh in a row, they'd say, okay, that's it for 20
They've had it.
years. They've
That's
had
right.
it.
That's right.
It's been dry for 30 years since Jim Brown left.
All right.
And
I would say in another 3 centuries, they'll be competitive with Paris.
I don't know if they're even looking to be competitive with Paris. There's only one Paris, right?
Well, all right. I guess in the year 1300s, we went through the same folly. That we're broke, but we can somehow all right.
Covers cardiology.
Yeah, I know. I just
Did you
sat
take
in
everybody?
How are you?
Whoops. Watch out, Jonah Bonus.
No.
Get out of the road. There's hot dogs. It's going to be a little hectic on this.
Excuse me, can I squeeze?
Are you eating that banana?
How's that fontanelle? Nice and soft.
So, but how does that?
How's your fontanelle?
Soft.
Nice and soft.
If you moved up,
Jonah. What are you doing?
is that tenure
Sneaking
track?
by.
Is that tenure? Or?
There's Nellie. No,
There's
banana.
probably, I think there are no, there might be a single tenure position.
Squash?
There is no.
A lot of work to make.
Yeah.
I mean, but who, like, who's the security of, who did the lectures in the, the thing is that because you're here about
Go.
BCHF and
Food.
by virtue of your voice in the BCHF.
I told you that before.
If you fail, then
I really am.
So the,
It's
wait,
so
so
strange
the
to
faculty
hear that
runs
children, all these
BCHF?
children,
Or
it's part run by the faculty, yeah.
Yeah, really.
Staff level.
Are there untenured professors?
And, you know, as an instructor, I mean, I see patients for the Boston Children's Heart Foundation, and they become a part of my private clinic Right,
whatever.
but I don't build them privately. They're
She
built
didn't
by
like,
Aldo,
yeah,
whatever.
exactly. She didn't like
He made
that they
1.1
did some
million by seeing
tests, certain tests she
people
thought were
privately.
unnecessary, and she thought they were kind of ripping them off.
No, that was probably a salary.
So,
I'll bet. I'll bet you. Great salary. Really? Well, I mean, if you think about it, the fees that he generates for these
came out
surgeries
with the consistent.
probably amount to.
What are you doing for pictures?
What's that? What am I doing for pictures? I have cameras fastened
Oh, yeah, we saved a lot.
Yeah, I have.
But still,
Well, you sent me some
we
pictures.
talk about private school.
I have.
Hello. I'm boiling.
Wow. That's scary.
That's what
I didn't tell you, I was in touch with Steve Ross this week about
Warner Brothers?
yeah.
About what? That's interesting.
About a TV run.
I'm in a scare.
Oh, you caught me in that one.
Well, he can somebody's in touch with them.
Right. And it was cheaper before.
I was talking to John Huston about the movie, right?
See, Ross still has a lot of influence on the board. So.
I was speaking with Mike.
You don't talk to him.
She crashing?
Yeah, I think so. I'm just gonna try and feed her this outside. She's wants a Wowie. She's thirsty. Except we need to. Where's the water?
Water?
I don't think your family has enough, like melodrama. You need
Fourth side.
more. Little incest.
Well, I think, you know, right?
A lecture, actually talk, starts to say, that's right.
I went to the student. I didn't know her. Then maybe
These people were very friendly.
and she went around telling everybody. And I was actually at prison. And I was also Jewish.
I'll just take it. I did want to Larry and Herman. George brother, just up here recently. Yeah, I was here 30th. Taking the records. All our meetings for years. So you'll be on here. You'll be in. Don't say a word.
Well, you have to speak in dots and dashes.
That's right. What did you say?
You'll have to talk in dots and dashes. He's an amateur radio person.
Oh, okay. Morse code.
Yeah.
All right. How about semaphore?
Well, maybe that. I don't know.
Had to pass a semaphore test in order to get leave, I remember, and then maybe.
Go give Nanny another kiss. She needs another kiss. Quickly.
Oh, all the groundwater is moving, which implies that it.
Give her another kiss. Okay, give Nanny another kiss quickly.
Scary.
Yes, it is. And I think, this is the 11th hour, and the truth has to come out.
I think she needs another kiss. You gonna give Nanny another kiss? Okay, quickly.
One bit of advice was the state should tell the
Let's see. No, it's not bad. Okay, come here. Let's see who's next.
Where we dropped it?
That's not her. I got her.
Up 5?
Hasta what? Banana. Hasta banana. Bye. Andrew, say bye.
He's sleeping.
Where's my
Give your daddy. See if your daddy gets a Mickey Mouse yank.
Hey Nellie, can you say goodbye to Curious George? Yeah, he's 3 months. He has to go home and go to sleep.
Good night. No,
I'm
no.
the ostrich.
No, you're the ostrich.
Yeah. He's gonna have a baby if I don't get him home.
Jay Warrentrout.
for 3 years.
Why? Because I'm not one for why? No!
Favorite thing. Hey Nellie, look, this is your book.
You want to know?
You want to draw in your book? Look. Oh, Nellie, you want to draw the owl? Or should we draw... Oh, look at that. Do you want to draw some mouse?
Mommy,
You want to draw that, Nellie?
Hit balls with him, yeah. Or maybe we could come down to Florida over the winter and hit balls with you.
Okay.
Sure.
You must have courts at your club.
Yeah, my book, I was describing how my book is completed finally after several years of that, and it's coming out next April.
I liked your speech.
I think it was very good.
I was trying to think of a story that...
Rocket ship for one of my siblings. Which one did I want to choose?
That's the real
Come with
question.
me.
Tell us the truth.
Ah, that's...
Who did you choose?
I plead the fifth.
I
can say no.
Wasn't Kathy?
No.
I bet it was Catherine.
No, he picked David. I'm guessing he picked David.
I don't know.
But that's funny. No, you know what it was? At the time, he was always reading my Superman comic books, and that was part of the Superman story. Was that Krypton blew up, and Superman was saved by his parents would put him in a rocket and send him to.
Wait, your father used to read your comic books?
Yes, constantly. Yeah.
That's
And also Mad Magazine. He said he had to read what the kids were reading.
Usually we find like I'd buy the comic book like get halfway through it.
Yeah, the Playboys. Yeah, right.
Yeah, Playboy. Right, and I'd find it like in his room, his whole pile of comics.
Really? How funny. That's great. That's really
But I
great.
think it was also like being
Thing
with
that
a different family and having been in concentration camps. His feeling like that you should always, you might have to move at any time. You might have to leave everything that was familiar behind. But I took it more.
You do? You really think so?
Yes, absolutely.
You want to tuck those things in the envelope?
Yes.
Yeah.
No? Okay.
Unfortunately, that has been an experience of many,
Yeah. No, I think he was very affected by
Oh, I know that.
his experiences.
I didn't tell you, I mean,
And then there were 2 for like 5 or 10 more trees. So.
What is this?
We have 50 trees in
Trees.
Israel.
This is going to be the Hellerstein Forest.
Are they really? Do you have like a little plaque in Israel?
Yeah, I was just going to say, it's like
Yeah, they
the
do, but
bricks
they're-
at the playground.
There's this movie where they have this sign up. It says like, the Hellerstein Family Forest, and the Hellerstein family comes here, sees it. As soon as they drive off, there's a guy who comes with the next
Switch
sign where he
name.
puts up right there's a Stern
On
family.
top.
They slip it in and out. There's like this little.
I
thought it was like on one of those like
There's one
signs
forest.
that
The thing
signs
is that
with
there's
little
one
red lights
forest.
that they could change, computer change.
Yeah,
How did
right,
you get into
right,
the
right.
collection of so many trees?
Well,
This
these
is
were
what
given
people
in
are
memory
saying,
of my
yeah.
father.
Oh, I did.
So these are from.
Well, it's honest.
These
That's
actually
an
just
excellent
come in.
idea. I
These
should have
just
known
came
that.
in the last day or two.
Yeah.
How many
So,
trees do you think you have so far?
Well, one with 25, one with 10.
25, 10.
35 so far.
And where are they?
36, 37, 38
It'll be the Hellerstein Forest.
Right.
in Israel.
Yeah, but where?
What kind of trees?
Which part of
Doesn't
it?
say. It's a little vague.
Do you think they sell the trees more than once, David?
Nobody else was thinking about it. This isn't new. This is something that we did years and years ago, kind of thing. Or we were talking. I remember talking about the ethics of medicine and how he would talk about. Somebody gave a lecture on percentages, and if you do this and you do that, and what are your clinical outcomes? He says clinical outcomes. It's sort of meaningless in terms of that individual and that person. And you can do all the clinical outcomes you want, but what do you do in that given situation? What are the realities of how you practice medicine, rather than what you do by statistics and by doing it by the book. And we always
Just tell me, is there one?
Philosophy. It's the kind of thing that Mahmoud was so really say. On that note, I think we'll end the conference because you couldn't respond to it. I mean,
No one else was around.
it was a whole pill pull. It's the kind of thing you don't just say, well, I agree or disagree. It would generate a whole series of discussions that usually took place when everybody broke up then. You say, well, what do you think of that? And it was sort of the kind of thing that he would be involved in. But I think, as I was saying, he had such a strength in terms of you meet people all the time. We're constantly looking at who else is more important and what else they have to do or where they're going. You never had that feeling with him. I mean, he stopped and talked to you. He talked to you. There's never a hurry about going anywhere, and when you were done and you were going to leave, fine. But it was always full attention to what you were discussing, and was able to handle so many different areas of knowledge and input, and whether it be history or philosophy, psychology, medicine, just mundane things, trivial things, or deep philosophic things.
My kid said he would listen to him.
Yeah. But you see him 11 o'clock at night. You see him. I remember he had his heart attack, and he had chest pains. He said, "Well, I got to finish making rounds," and he finished his round. I remember. I remember he said he knew that something was wrong, but he had about 5 patients to see. He went and saw them, and then he went down to the emergency room. He said, "I think I'm having a heart attack." And sure enough, remember he had the angioplasty at that time, or the surgery. But that was him. It was a kind of very, this is the way I'm going to play it, and this is what I have to do and get done. Very soft human being, just. He could say more by not saying anything. He just sort of look at it, quizzically, give a nod or a question, and you knew that he was thinking a million things and reacting to a million things.
He wanted to, he just said, it's too bad you can't transplant the brain and, go on from there.
Right.
Too bad you got to start all over again.
Are we sure he didn't succeed?
There's a partial transplant.
On number 6.
No, he used to say that. He said, I just have to figure out how to transplant my brain into your body and I can live another 70, 80 years.
Well, he would say it seriously, though.
Yeah,
I mean, he would say it as a kind of...
on that. And David said, well, you're sitting over the couch
Yeah.
minutes ago, what would have happened to my brain?
Did he say it to his dad then, though?
No.
No, not at all.
Only now. He can
You know
see
that cat that hangs out on the step?
That one has David's brain.
But how he did all the things he did, I remember he would come in and tell me that he'd be making rounds at 10 o'clock in the morning, 11 o'clock in the morning. He was supposed to be in Los Angeles that afternoon lecturing, and he would be getting an 11 o'clock flight or 12 o'clock flight. And then he'd be back the next morning at 7 o'clock making rounds. He'd take the night flight. And he looked as alert the next morning as I looked, after 14 hours sleep. He would just, he loved that tumult, the participating in the, you never saw his office, you never knew where anything was. I mean, you walked in, you wonder how he put anything together. And still, getting slides, or you never looked like it was harried. Never looked like, oh God, I'll never get done. It was,
Hey, Joe.
Who were the people that you remember that he was close to, 20, 30 years ago at the hospital?
Well, he and Austin Weisberg
Were close,
very
yeah.
close friends. He's been gone since 1970.
Was it 70 that he died?
He was about 50 years old. That's all.
Yeah, he was 53.
And
The Oscar Ratnoff was his era.
he came a little later, I think, but let's see, when did I asked Oscar when he came. Might have been around that time. He was first at Mount Sinai.
Mm-hmm.
And he went over definitely by June, it's really
Because it's interesting, I remember seeing him come out of the garage one day, and he didn't have a tie on. I think it's the first time I've ever seen him in my life that he wasn't wearing a tie. He must have been when he was going for therapy or treatment, and I should have picked up that something was wrong, and I didn't. It was funny, because usually he had that bounce, and he'd be, determined. He was sort of just walking a little sort of slowly, and obviously deep in thought about a million things. And it wasn't too soon before, he came in the hospital, actually. Yeah.
Let's see, who was there in 1970? That's when you came in 70?
I came in 62. Like if Paul Vigneault was a good friend of his, and I'm trying to think of
Harvey Dworkin. What was it?
Harvey Dworkin.
Oh, yeah,
How about Goldblatt or whatever?
He was
David
before
Goldblatt?
Harry Goldblatt.
Harry
I think it was
Goldblatt.
before
Yeah,
him,
he's-
wasn't he?
Yeah.
But did you know Jesse Edwards, who was at the Mayo Clinic, and he was a cardiac pathologist, who also used to say, that he knew Herm well. And,
Like also Henry Blackburn.
Yeah. Well, he had lots of friends
Bless you.
outside the...
Oh, yeah.
Ray Diamond.
Sure.
Vern Dreyer was
Right.
very close.
Right. No, well, he was one of the few people at this institution who really had the instantaneous international recognition. There's just no question about it in terms of what prestige he brought, to the school in terms of what he had done.
He must have been devoted to stay here all these years.
Well, he was thinking. In fact, he once thought about going out to San Diego.
La Jolla, wasn't it?
La Jolla.
And why didn't he do that, Ken?
This is where we would be right now.
Yeah, we'd be lying.
This side.
We'd rather be here. Why didn't we?
I think it was for consideration for his kids.
No, I didn't want to move. I was like, how old was I? 10?
Do you remember Shumway?
Sure.
They lived down the street. Kathy was very close to Priscilla Shumway, very good friends.
I made a big fuss about the idea of moving to California.
I thought it was great.
But you didn't want to move either. You didn't want to move. I don't think I was the come on. Your 10-year-old daughter is going to make you make up.
Yeah, that was fine. That was fine.
I mean, to turn down the best career offer of your life, I don't...
That happens.
He
Well, it
had
certainly
some-
happens now, Kathy.
He had some
I think
misgivings.
when I was
about
chairing the
things.
search committee for radiology, for example, it's amazing how many people said, I can't really think about moving. My daughter's a sophomore in high school, my son's got his senior year, or, it would devastate the family to do this, and I'm just not going to move for the next 3 years. Maybe 20 years ago or 30 years ago, people were less likely to do
No, but
it. than they do
that's
now.
different.
Wait, they told you that before you made the offer, or after you made the offer?
Before they would even consider the
So
offer, they said,
it was
they
serious.
would say, Dr. Moskowitz, I really would it's a great place, and I know it, but right now I just don't feel I can look at any place.
But certainly there were
because of
times
this.
when everyone
You'd be
was
wasting your
at
time.
school.
I just don't feel like I can.
Oh, yeah,
make the
no,
move.
that's serious.
Yeah. Well, we just hired someone at Penn who put off coming to Penn for a year so his kid could finish the senior year in high school.
Right, but it's also like, I think the most common excuse, you make an offer, somebody says, you go through the whole search, the guy's
It's a polite way of saying no.
And then, and then you make the offer, and then he says,
Well,
either
this
his
is
wife
right.
decides, she steps in, my wife put her foot down, I can't.
Well, that happens. Boy, that
No, it does happen, but I
It
think it's
happens
also
to
the
people who
most
live in San
common.
Francisco and Boston, or where the wives don't want to, or the husbands don't want to. I had one. We were looking at affirmative action, and I called up this black radiologist at Penn. At Penn, as a matter of fact. And she got a kick out. She says, "I'm sort of the one they always call, because and I'm the highest ranking one nationally." And her husband was a dentist, and he said, "He can't leave his practice, so I really, can't afford to look because I'm not going to ask him to do that." So they did get it. But going back to whether Herman moved or not, we used to talk about this, and in a way he used to say that he was more coveted outside of reserve than he was at reserve. You know that
That's what
the expert's the man from out of town, the person from out of town. And we were talking about this because in a way I did the same thing, you know, where I would be going out and speaking or writing, and he didn't get involved in the local politics, so he didn't care about what was happening here. He could live here and use this as his base. He didn't need to move. He would be doing the same thing, I think, whether he lived in San Diego or whether he lived in Boston. He would still be in Bangkok lecturing, or China, or England, or France, where, you know, it didn't matter to him. You know, he was writing his books, he was doing his research, he had his lab. He really didn't need to.
Mom, what's the position at La Jolla? Wasn't that more administrative?
It's like chief of cardiology, isn't it?
The university that was connected with it was just getting started, I think. There were lots of politics. There was a lot of...
He would have started the department. He would have hired everyone.
I'm not sure, but...
How long ago was it? This is when you were 10. Okay, you don't have to tell us exactly.
10 years old, 55 years ago.
5 years ago.
We all know how old everybody is. We got that all figured out.
Then he looked at something in New York once, in the city. I've forgotten what hospital. But,
I thought you had an offer more recently from UCLA or someplace, like, maybe not.
Well, if we would have been speaking with a different accent, we would have gone to New York, right?
let's see, what else were we looking
I'm trying to imagine our family living in
You
Manhattan.
a Yankees fan?
At 10, you would...
Well, David lives in Manhattan, doesn't he?
Pardon?
Isn't David
He
in
just moved
Manhattan?
outside.
What?
He used to live there. He's in Larchmont.
Where's he now?
Larchmont?
Oh, okay. You go right outside the city. You know. Is he still doing psychiatry then?
Yeah.
And writing?
His book will be out in spring. It's called The Family of Doctors.
This is about the family?
About our generation, parents' generation, their parents' generation, their parents' generation.
6 generations
Yeah.
or 5 generations? 6 generations.
Oh, I think he tried to bring in the... He found hundreds
So
of
American
cases, or
history.
I don't remember how many cases. The dean of the medical school was this Marcus Rosenwasser. He was an obstetrician and had studied how many cases? I've forgotten.
He said 12.
Now, Rosenwasser was who?
Rosenwasser was your
Great
uncle.
Great uncle.
Oh, wasn't he Edward Rosewater's brother?
Yeah, so he was your great uncle.
And he studied in
Vienna, probably.
Prague.
His brother put him through medical school.
Yes. His older brother. That's what David was telling me last night.
Who was a telegrapher during the Civil War, and was one of the telegraphers that sent out the Emancipation Proclamation.
Really?
And then he started a newspaper, the Omaha Bee. Or had it been, yeah, he started that.
They went west in a covered wagon. So it's from the time of the covered wagon to jet set.
So, but the brother here, the one who became the dean, kept his name. He didn't Americanize it.
And he worked
And he was
with,
here at Reserve, at the one who was at Ohio Wesleyan, or was
Yeah,
it?
was the beginning of the
I see.
research. Several medical schools joined together.
Had Herman had a chance to read
Cryle
this?
was one of his friends. Cryle Senior
Right.
was in that group of teachers
Okay.
at the medical school at that time.
Okay, guys, so I can pick up the generations.
Yeah.
Well, have you read the manuscript?
Parts of it.
Dad read it.
Yeah, he did.
He did.
Yeah,
so-
yeah.
Just part of the piano.
Yeah.
Wait, you're not allowed to read that? She might leak. She might leak
I
some
won't
of
say a
the.
I
word.
read it.
It's lovely.
Yeah, it's beautiful.
I started to cry.
Compare, OB at that time with OB now.
What-
But their results then were pretty good.
Yeah.
Amazing.
He had
Without
some.
any.
They didn't keep the cases where the results weren't good.
Well, maybe not. Maybe not.
They didn't write those up. Right.
Those are the outliers.
Right. Right.
You think there were only 12,000 patients. There were really another 25,000 that have been destroyed.
Well, death at childbirth was very common.
Yeah.
Because many families, I know in our, when we look back through our, trees, there were second wives, more kids, because the
your
original
grandmother
grandmother
died.
Yeah. So lots of
Your
remarriages.
grandmother and Dad's grandmother, Rebecca Zeiger, Rebecca Soloveitchik Zeiger, died.
In child.
I think so.
That's what he said, yeah.
Yeah.
26 years old or something?
No, she must have been a little bit older than that. Or was Celia was
that Nana's mother that was
maybe there
older
was
too?
Nellie Rosewater Elgutter, who she was probably she was about 21 or 22.
She was just back from Cooper Union.
Yeah, she was in her early 20s.
Back from art school.
Yeah, and but my father's grandmother must have been a little bit older because his mother was 16 when her mother died, or maybe she was a little bit younger than that even. But her father remarried and a woman who was a young girl who was her contemporary. And they didn't get along. And she left. She ran away from home and came to America.
The stepmother was
Stepmother was her contemporary. You want something to drink, Sal?
But talking about that, with all the physicians in the family, discussing, why people go into medicine, or why did you decide to go into medicine? So many doctors' families, like my son Josh, really, I don't think he's interested in going to medical school, and I'm not pushing him to do it.
But where is he in college?
At the University of Michigan.
He's a sophomore?
He'll be a sophomore, and he's taking courses that'll give him the flexibility to go either way, but he's not really, gee, I want to be a doctor. And I was talking to a friend of mine who's the dean at Temple now, Alan Myers, and he has 3 children, none of whom are physicians. We're discussing, is it because, Josh worked at the hospital for a month 2 summers ago, and I said, what was it like, saying Dad as a doctor? He said, Dad, so all you do is sit at the phone all day and answer phone calls and, deal with secretaries and dictate and things. And, is it a difference in terms of what you see at home or what you talk about? When doctors were doctors 50 years ago and they came home and they talked about Mrs. Jones did this, or they got called out in the middle of the night, I might as well be a stockbroker for all the children get out of what it is to be a physician. I mean, they don't see me as really saving lives and stamping out disease. Would you see it as where did you get your...
But they didn't see you teaching a patient at the bedside or something like that. So maybe if they saw that part.
No, but they might have.
Yeah.
But you didn't. Did you do that with your dad? Or?
Well, I was in the operating room with him a bunch of times, and he told me there's only one crucial rule when you're in the operating room. When you faint, fall backwards, not forwards.
I can see.
And that's why you decided not to pursue a career in medicine.
Because felt like I was going to fall forward. Actually, the funniest story was he had me working on the Shaker Heights study in school kids and stuff like that, and I was drawing bloods, phlebotomist.
Right.
How old was I? Maybe 15 or 16 years old, I think.
About 15, big enough to still
16.
down and draw my
16.
Yeah.
And so anyways, it came down to, I drew all the bloods, and then it came down to my dad said, well, why don't you practice on Danny and Susie before you were going to draw bloods? And so I drew Susie, and everything went okay, and then I was drawing Danny. And Danny fainted like a log. He was out like a log.
The prelude was he chased by
Yeah.
Came
met with a big needle.
It's a
And
rabbit
so you're-
punch to the groin. And my dad's reaction was, he said, I said, Dan, why'd you faint? He goes, well, the sight of blood. He says, it's my own. It makes me faint. And my dad says, oh, he's going to be a surgeon. Remember that, Danny?
That was a big needle.
It wasn't that big. We got out the horse needle just for you, Dan. No.
Dan, how are you enjoying it down in Jacksonville?
Oh, you're probably feeling some of the same types of pressures around the university. The career is starting to become more of a job. The bottom line is more important than what you deliver. And the measure of the product is patient satisfaction, not with what you do. Do you get too many complaints? The patient's waiting line, waiting room. How quickly can you process them? Can you send them through the checkout line like they do at Sam's Warehouse? Or can you give them what they really need? There's sort of a mixed message coming out of mail. What they want. The foundation would like to keep their $1.5 million, keep their old style carriage trade medicine. The reality is that they're going to go up against groups of larger size, 2, 3, 4, 5,000 physician groups who are going to be outcome oriented. They're not going to hold hands, they're not going to order many tests. They're going to say, you have a headache, it's a headache, don't worry about
And
it.
if you're getting per capita payment, you're getting your $1,000 a person.
Capitation will destroy the clinic. They're not efficient. Not at all. It's the last thing that they would be good at.
Really? Because I spent 4 years there, and they were fairly efficient at Rochester. I think it may be different at Jacksonville.
They're efficient at handling patients, but the gear is toward diagnosis. And every neurologist I talk to, every internist I talk to, they talk about spending an hour and a half with a patient, which is silly.
Right.
I think that's really silly. I mean, it's nice to do that, but 4 years of college, 4 years of medical school, you're wasting your time. Somebody should interact with the patient. They need hand-holding, get a warm individual, male or female, who can relate to patients and maybe take the history or maybe interact with the patients and hold hands a little bit. And then who's ever going to make the decision that way, but not spending an hour and a half. Because it's not going to be a viable product. They're cutting the surgeon's fees, and the surgeon's fees ran Mayo Clinic. They could basically give the other care away free. And they're cutting the salaries down, cutting the reimbursements down. And it's going to be necessary for some of the lesser productive groups to become more productive. So they're going to have to turn that little wrench faster, and the answer is volume. The CEO at Jacksonville talks about volume. He talks about putting people through the system, putting meat into the grinder. You have to get it going, you have to get it through. Whether it means staying open later, or working Saturdays, or having some other flexibilities, or going to the electronic medical record, it's going to be volume. And you're going up against people who are very good at volume because they don't give them carriage trade, hand-holding medicine that Mayo is used to. And so it's a real dichotomy. Is it going to stay alive, support from the foundation, and not deliver a viable product? Or is it going to be bottom-rung, acceptable medicine, acceptable by practice guidelines, acceptable by ICFA or Medicare, whatever it might be? So I think that there's a great deal of tumultuousness right now. They're trying to feel where they belong.
I think it's probably happening in medicine in general, though, that the pressure is there to compete and to grind out quality product for the cheapest price, and at a certain point quality has to suffer because you can't keep underbidding without cutting the corner somewhere.
The last final analysis is that time equals money.
Yeah.
So you have to spend less time.
Until you say that this is the place where you can't squeeze this anymore, and you have to, as professionals,
Technology
set
has to
those
replace
guidelines.
some of the human element too.
Sure. Or you get people who are just nice people and who don't have big education suitcases in their back pocket if they have to.
Or what you do is you do.
You see all these sort of like I mean, we go to a family medicine practice, which has sort of expanded like tenfold in the last 7 years. But you never see doctors anymore. You see these physicians.
Well, the other thing is you really get core medicine. You know, I give enough lectures or do enough teaching in smaller communities. And some of the medicine is very good, but most of it is, I mean, you sit there and it's frightening to think that somebody's actually getting medical care in that community and what they get. And a lot of
doctors or from these nurse practitioners?
Physicians. And where they, for example, they'll do all the I know best about rheumatology, obviously, but they'll take care of all the patients with arthritis, and they don't really have the faintest idea what they're doing. And if it doesn't work, we'll try this. If it doesn't work, we'll try this. So the cost is really much higher. You know, they may charge less for an office visit than I do, but it may take them 20 office visits to finally, you know, sort of luck on you know, what they want to do. And they're out to the reason that Clinton's doing what he's doing is because they're really milking the system. I was talking to one physician who was a family practitioner, and he would just trim calluses, and he would call that that was surgical removal of a hyperkeratotic lesion. You know, it was $85, you know, for 3 seconds of cutting down a callus. And he was proud of how he had, you know, sort of gone through a different code to do this.
Don't you think that
picking a scale.
with the use of computers, that things like taking a medical history and stuff like that you can get 90% of it on a self?
I find I do a lot better when I do it myself. You know, it's the nuances you pick up, the question you wouldn't have. It's like being in the lab. You know, you can have a PhD doing work for you all day long, and you're not going to do the same kind of research that you are if you're in the lab doing it yourself. And I know it because I'm not there doing it, and I know that I miss things that they're not going to pick up that, you know, you're thinking about the same way. You know, the fellow takes the history and you read, oh yeah, fine, and you really don't ask that extra question, or you don't see the patient walk and say, gee, how long has this been bothering you?
Well, it becomes a fact once it's written down, but when you hear it, you hear a question in the voice or something.
Exactly. A headache. That's why I don't do well on CPC because it's too cold, it's too sterile. You know, somebody says they have a headache and a rash. Headache can be any of 12 different things. Somebody says I have this terrible headache and sore over here. It's different than I have this terrible headache and it's just like a pressure around my head. And if you don't ask the right question, you're going to do it.
It's sort of you'd like to think it would work, but I know one pediatric group that does that, and because they're scheduled for a new patient every 15 minutes, they don't ask questions beyond unless the patient writes down that they have questions. It's sort of like what I don't know that you want to know, I'm not going to ask you. So.
The fortunate thing is most people survive even without the extra.
Despite medicine.
Despite not asking the questions, knowing about it.
What was it my dad used to always say, that when there was the strike of physicians and
more people, the death rate goes down.
in Israel, wasn't it? I think that was a famous.
That's right, the death rate goes down. Because fewer people go in the hospital, there's fewer surgery.
Yeah. Well, these were particular in his particular medical school class.
The
group
class
that used to go to different classes, you know, Metro and City Hospital and Charity Hospital. You know, you used to do it, George. You travel by car. Usually one person had a car, and everybody, 5 or 6 people would go together. Because nobody else had a car, but in those days anyway.
Well, he used to tell the story about when he was going, and they never wanted him to drive because they'd be in a conversation. He'd be talking to the
I can believe that.
He'd be forgetting that he was driving. And then the other part is he didn't want any of his patients to know this, but there was this pie place down on, what was it, Carnegie or Chester?
Yeah,
Carnegie.
It's Carnegie. It's called Roy Rio.
Royal Rio. And he said, no kidding. He said the pies were this hot. And they had a deal going where they'd buy day-old pies. Seconds, and eat it in the car going over to the hospital.
Pecan.
And And then I think he liked banana cream.
You're pretty wet, Jonah.
That's not.
Did you have an accident, Jonah?
Did he watch his diet a lot?
Pardon?
Did he watch his diet a lot?
Yeah.
Was it?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, he did.
We got lectures at the family gathering.
Oh, really?
Yes.
About the visible and invisible eggs.
That's my neck.
Who's using butter and who's using margarine and
Skim milk.
skim
Is that
milk?
right?
Yeah.
1%. I don't think they had 1% at that time. They just
Skim.
had skim or regular.
Powdered milk.
But it came up
2%.
every time we got together.
Well, my
Are you
mother wrote the cookbook, Gourmet Cooking for the
Cardiac
Cardiac
Diets.
Diet,
Yeah.
1950s.
Yeah, with my father.
Right.
And it was good. Yeah, the recipe's still pretty good, even if you want to. Some of them were using lanolin. In those days, they put them on very low
Right.
salt diets because that's all they had
Right.
to control blood pressure. They didn't have all the
God, I haven't heard that name
medication,
from
the lanolin.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What
So a
was
lot
that?
of her recipes use lanolin.
What was that? Like a
It's a
salsa?
low, very low salt milk.
Oh, milk.
So if you added milk to a recipe, you didn't use regular milk, you used lanolin. If it was a low salt.
Come on, Rebecca and Jonah, let's go. Oh, Jonah, no!
But
No.
For the thiazide drugs.
Right.
I can remember when they came out.
you could still take the recipes and make them more
Yeah.
modern ingredients.
Diarrheal and hydrodiarrheal.
When did you finish medical school? When did you?
1950.
You must have it.
The cookbook?
Kendall and Hinch came
I mean, cortisone in 49.
and spoke to us
Is that right?
on honorary degree.
Right. Well, I was thinking, you talk about, having medications, because I remember when I was in medical school, we had about 8 drugs. You had mercurochrome, digitalis leaf, you had aminophylline, rectal ether for asthma attacks, nothing.
Wait a minute.
That sounds like that was real pleasant to administer.
What is that? Take a deep breath?
Totally goes to sleep.
He likes his hair.
Yeah, you ever know, somebody, status asthmaticus, you give them Saudi tubes, and
You wouldn't want to have
those are the days.
It'd be a pain in the you-know-what.
You wouldn't want to have a lot of things in those days.
That's amazing.
Days of
Leeches, we still used leeches back in those days.
Poultices, flaxseed poultices.
Right. Saudi tubes, you put tubes in, draw the fluid out.
Well, nothing like a good bloodletting to give you a little energy.
That's right,
in the
that's
morning.
right. Tourniquets.
Actually, they're using this for plastic surgery, flaps and things, leeches.
That's right, to keep
Leeches.
them clean, yeah.
Uh-huh.
To keep them, to
Medical
degrade them,
leeches.
yeah.
Medical
Is
issues.
that,
You put the medical in front. It's an
Right, it costs a lot more.
It's very expensive.
Sterile medical leeches.
They
Right.
call it therapeutic phlebotomy.
But aren't they
That's
using?
right.
Aren't they using all sorts of animal products, pig skin for the heart valves and
Oh, yeah.
all that sort of stuff, and synthetic animal arteries that they've stripped? And I thought they had a process where they took arteries out of pigs and then put it through some sort
They use
of
valves,
process.
don't they use vessels, Teflon or plastic background.
Vortex.
To an old Polish pediatrician who had a bad hip and as a child, so she escaped from the Nazis so many years ago. Had an artificial hip from a cow inserted. You ever heard of that?
No.
And was not doing all that well. But it was many years later. She had survived many years anyway.
Had a milk
She hobbled around. But she'd survived
I
for
think it
many,
wouldn't have
many
been a bad
years.
idea. You know,
Something.
before you had, prostheses,
I don't know why
I guess
they...
Well, cows are heavy, so they probably
It's
have a lot of weight on
important.
them.
When she heard the big bell, she always went towards the barn.
Right.
Well, Well, it'll be, hard to get used to him not being there. When do you go back? When you?
Sunday,
Tomorrow.
Monday, Tuesday.
Did you get your ticket?
Yes. Yeah, my ticket.
What time do you go?
12:30.
And George, you're going. What time do you go?
12:30 tomorrow.
It's a big group going.
Or does Susie go at
When
12:30?
are you going, Les?
8:15,
I'm
8:13.
popular time. Very unpopular.
Yes, I'm unique.
Right. Where do you go back to?
I'm going to Boston. I was on Cape Cod on vacation and flew
She was
from-
part of the Clinton delegation.
I was going to say, see, Clinton is up there now.
Yeah, right.
Well, my sister actually is an emergency room nurse on Martha's Vineyard, so
If it's strange,
hopefully, yeah, if there's any problem
They'll get called.
Chelsea
Yeah.
gets sick.
for a splinter. well,
Yeah, right.
Or if Bill pulls a muscle
Doesn't he
playing
take
golf.
his doctor with him? He probably does, doesn't he?
What's her doctor?
She said they hadn't sent any blood.
Oh, really?
I thought that they did that
Automatic.
routinely to the hospital.
Or they
It's
do draw
not.
blood off every month, and so it just.
If Sox
that's a
scratches
good
Chelsea, then they'll end up in the emergency room.
Yeah.
Cat scratch fever.
But anyway, so I fly back to Boston, and then I live in
Oh,
Never
Providence.
saw any cat scratch fever.
What?
I said I never saw any cat scratch fever. I read about it, heard about it.
I had a
Look
nephew
for
who had
it.
it, otherwise I wouldn't have known about it. It's a long time ago.
So they don't have.
Well, I saw a lot of tick-borne
Yes, but I wasn't in Providence.
From,
I was on Cape
Moxonary
Cod.
spotted fever,
Did you?
No, but you can, if you
Taurine.
fly from Boston,
Did
you
you?
fly
The
back to
BCOsis,
Boston,
I had
right?
never heard of it
Oh,
about 2
true.
years ago,
Because you
so
got
they put it up
round-trip
as a CPC at a
Right.
medical
I
meeting.
see.
Yeah, with
I had to go back to
anemia
Boston.
and fever.
Yeah, the
I don't
splenectomy.
know.
Oh, you don't know?
No, Ronnie's
Part of
it.
driving. It's
History.
only an
Yeah.
hour. He's driving up from Providence, and then we drive back down.
That's
to
silicosis.
Well, there wasn't any good
She's
treatment.
coming
Maybe there is
tomorrow.
now.
Oh, nice.
This was just
You
total
can't have a
coincidence.
heart.
I haven't seen her in a year, but this is it. So
Well, I'm
she
going
said pick
to-
her up in New Bedford.
Excuse me, the two folks.
There's a ferry from Martha's Vineyard that goes
Peter,
there.
I'm
It's
sure will be
closer than
calling
if
to
I would
say
have to
hello
drive
when
back
she
to
doesn't
New
get back
Cape.
to
Look who I have on my knife.
New Bedford is only about
Thank you.
Beauty.
half an hour
events. Right.
from Providence.
David, my sympathy.
Thank you.
You're very proud of your dad, obviously.
Thank you very much for stopping.
Oh,
You must be
Tuning us in.
exhausted.
So tomorrow's a busy day.
Thank you. Now, what did I tell you?
Here it is.
Son,
Here it is. He was
sophomore
on
in
it.
Michigan,
See?
Ann Arbor.
I was looking around. I thought maybe I was
Yiddish course, language or literature
What's the difference
translation.
between
Good
making it and
friends
not?
teaches in the English department.
You were
Is
pretty
that right?
concerned.
He's
So.
in Norwich. She's wonderful.
What is
She'll
it?
be a great.
He dropped a quarter. It's just, that's one of those little obsessive things. That,
You can read Hebrew, though.
Well, it's like a habit from when you really care about it.
right. That quarter meant something
Right.
those days.
I'm amazed because he loves these.
Five things are.
You know,
They're great teachers.
Well, I hate to even pick up the change, you know. If someone's giving me change, it's like,
proselytize.
why bother?
Bye-bye. Thank you.
Unless
Oh,
it's
take care. Yeah,
A lot.
I'll be in touch. How about you?
Where's your pocket? Where's your pocket?